the aspect of that part that you're talking about, the where both Tom Cruise and Max von Sydow both were able to change the future, kind of thing. I really personally really appreciated that because that it I've talked about this before. Like probably one of my all-time favorite books is Dune, and in the Dune books they talk a lot about characters that are not just precognitive but are damn near prescient and everything. And the way that Frank Herbert predicted it, the way he, made his universe was that if you could see into the future, it would almost be like a big tapestry in front of you with all the webs of possible futures that were out there. But if another person in the universe was precognitive or prescient, or even had a mild ability for seeing into the future, even just gleaning images and things like that, the moment that is possible, that person can alter things. So when you see in front of you the future laid out like a visual thing, anyone who was also shared some of that ability would appear as a big black void that you could no longer see, like a cloud that made it impossible to see the future because that person could change their future.
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't know.
By being aware of their future, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, if you have the ability to see into the future and you have free will, then you can change the future. So if another person has the exact same ability and could see into the future, they would not be able to know what you could, or they wouldn't even be able to see the options because you would be able, so I don't know. It's just an interesting thing. Like in those books and movies, when they know that the emperor character, that the guy is capable of seeing into the future, the only way they can have a coup against him and threat his the only way they can try to overthrow him and kill him is to conspire with another person that is precognitive in the room, so that way he won't be able to see what they're doing.
Spoilers, all the spoilers.
No, this is no. Don't worry. This is I'm talking about books that are never going to get made into movies. This is later on.
Later on in the universe.
Well, I also the word tapestry is entirely relevant because of the Star Trek episode. Tapestry. It's kind of a mirror image of what that episode is, of looking into your past and like the tapestry of your life unraveling, making different decisions and so on and so forth, and like these predestination paradoxes, and whether or not they're true, and so on and so forth. Whenever you're dealing, the thing is, we already did an episode on predestination. We already talked about time travel concepts, and Minority Report is a time travel movie. It's just a different kind of time travel movie. It's can you see into the future? It's not a matter of it's not the same thing as if you kill your grandpa, does that create a paradox where you'll never be born and not be able to go back in time to kill your grandpa? It's a different kind of time travel story, but it's still a time travel story.
It deals with a lot of the same concepts at the very least.
Yeah. So yeah, that word tapestry is actually kind of important.
I wanted to ask you guys your thoughts on this. Just
what
because...
is the definition of tapestry? If it helps, to put theme-wise, what that, is a weft face plane weave with discontinuous weft of conceal. Weave. I mean, I guess tapestry would be like the picture of your life in a way, right?
Yeah, like a big picture.
Yeah.
Well,
Anyways, but first you go, Jason. No, because I was gonna say something about the free will thing, but after.
Oh, if you want to, you can go first.
No, I was mostly gonna say the way I've always looked at it is that as long as we have this one universe, at least that we can perceive, whatever was going to happen was going to happen. I do think that nothing's changing that unless you are out of space, like out of time, like if you're a time traveler and could change time. And then even that probably was predestined to some degree. But because, and I guess the way Frank Herbert did it makes sense, because we don't know what we're going to do, we have the illusion of free will, but we really don't. But the moment that you know what you're going to do and have the choice to change it, then yes, at that point, you would be an individual in the universe that has free will because you're aware of your choices and can make different ones. So that's, and in some capacity, you can change the future, essentially, if you're a precog. At least in the Dune universe, it sounds like.
I think if we're talking about free will and destiny, we have to go back to perhaps the greatest cinematic example of it was in Forrest Gump. That is the final speech he gives at Jenny's graveside. He's talking about that very thing. And I haven't heard you guys mention it once in the podcast.
Yeah, what was the speech?
Well, he's just standing there and he's kind of thinking out loud to himself, like, which is it? Is it like what my mama said, where we're all predestined to do things? Like she told him earlier in the movie, like she was destined to be his mama, or is it more like what Lieutenant Dan says, where there is no destiny, like we're all just floating around on a breeze? Is what he says.
I love the way you just said that.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful scene.
It's what does he say? Does he say that it's both? Because it's both. I mean,
yeah, I think it's both.
Yeah, I think it's both. Is that what he says? It's starting to come back to me.
Yeah, that's exactly what he says.
Isn't this the scene he just like got done dropping off Haley Joel Osment at the bus stop or something like that?
No, it happens before it. He's describing like he's talking. It's after Jenny's dead, and he's just describing to her like how he's doing.
I hope it would be after she's dead. He's talking to her grave.
He's talking about how smart he is, and they have a little montage of him reading to him, and just kind of just like showing what his life is like after she's gone. And then the scene where he takes his son to the bus stop. That's the very last scene in the movie.
Okay, and this is all before he develops the ability to see ghosts.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
a few years prior.
Okay,
yeah, and before he became Pinocchio.
Yes,
and before he became part of the View Askew universe.
Yes, indeed. The Walrus movie. No, I wanted to ask you guys what your thoughts were on, because I find it interesting that this movie presents the pre-crime thing as a moral dilemma, and to me at least, I only have two problems with how they're using this pre-crime thing. I don't actually see any problem with it at all, except for two things. Number one, it's completely victimizing the three precogs, and that's not good. Like, if there was a way for them to do it without completely destroying the lives of three people, then that would be one huge step in the right direction. Mm-hmm. And then the other aspect that the only other aspect actually that I have a problem with is that this imprisonment system is awful. Like, I mean, this is worse than Demolition Man.
I was gonna say Demolition Man.
At least in Demolition Man, they put them on ice and they have like the machines hooked up to their head so that they're technically being some sort of futuristic rehabilitation program or something like that. Like, this program is like, oh, you committed pre-crime. You didn't actually commit a crime, but we know you were about to commit murder, and we're gonna put you in suspended animation forever with no parole, no nothing. Like, people commit awful crimes in our world right now, and they get off like 5 to 10 years later sometimes, like, and sometimes they're a better person for it. There's all kinds of really great stories of people who, even though I'll be the first one to admit we have a messed up system, our judicial system and our prison systems are very messed up, and they have lots of problems that need to be corrected. But there are tons of stories of it going well, where people bettered themselves. They got an education while they were in prison. They came back a changed person, and then they lived out the rest of their life very happy, very successfully. Sometimes, depending on the person, of course. Anyone who's seen Heat knows that the returning prisoners back into society is a whole nother issue that we have done very poorly with in our society. But my point is, what the heck is this system that they commit one crime of passion, or they don't even commit it, they're about to commit one crime of passion. The future police show up and stop them, and then their life is over. Like, this is horrendous.
It's definitely very dystopian.
It's so dystopian. It's terrifying. I can understand why everyone's like, "Don't put that thing on my head. Don't put that thing on my head."
I don't know. There's some vibes in this movie, like very RoboCop vibes.
Yeah.
This is coming from somebody who has sat face to face with confessed murderers. Okay, yes. So yeah, it is entirely dystopian, and it's entirely wrong. And I think that's the entire point.
That's what I wanted to ask you about, though, is because, to me at least, I want to get your side of the opinion on this. To me, and I'm not talking about this as a criticism to the movie. I'm just talking about the concept let's just talk about this. To me, if this technology existed and they didn't have to use 3 human lives to achieve it, living this tortured existence, and also if they were just apprehending these people and putting them into rehabilitation programs and possibly some sort of cell, something where they're keeping them away from society for a while, I would be all for this. I think this would be outstanding.
Honestly,
the way that they're doing it is horrific.
Not to mention, go Matt, but
sorry. Actually, one of my criticisms, and also something at the end of the movie that makes me think that maybe it's just in John Anderton's head and not a real thing, is like the complete disbandment of pre-crime, where it's just like, oh, couldn't you just use that? And like, okay, well, they're saying that a murder might be happening like 20 minutes from now, and we could just send officers to see if it's happening and stop it if it does.
Yeah.
I mean, doesn't that seem like a more plausible, like, middle ground than just like throwing the baby out with the bathwater?
Well, and they stop the crimes, right? And like let's use the one in the movie as an example. We know, like, we not only did we see the future, they got there just as it was happening and barely stopped the murder, right? So there, even by today's standards, there is no problem whatsoever convicting this guy of attempted murder.
Right.
In the 3rd degree, right?
It depends on the state, but yeah.
I mean, at the very least, a lot of these people are criminals, and I like that there's a nice little throwaway line where it says many of them were kept a watchful eye on, or something like that. It's like, some of these people are just downright murderers. Come on, like they might have been very successful murderers for their whole life, and then got to DC.
Yeah.
No. I mean, like, they might have successfully murdered dozens of people and then got to DC and got caught. Because of pre-crime.
So that's what I was gonna say, is that because there's this focus on like freedom of will, like essentially the system says that people don't have a choice. If the the system thinks it knows what's going to happen. Therefore, if anything, it should be an argument for less harsh punishment, let alone like an attempted murder, but actually just, yes, removing from society, rehabilitating, like, you've just been stopped by pre-crime, you could have done this, like, and yes, don't let them out on the street the next day, but probably like a couple years, like maybe a year, like I think the point of a system like this in a non-dystopian future would be to actually, stop people from becoming criminals, essentially, especially when it's a crime of passion. If it's premeditated, then yes, that's a whole different calculation. But someone that was going to kill his wife is probably not going to kill anybody else in their lives. It's like a one-off thing.
Think about what a great tool for rehabilitation it would be if they had the footage to show him. Like, he's arrested, they start his rehabilitation days later or whatever, after he's adjusted to his new confinement and whatever. And then it's like showing him, look what you were about to do. And like literally being able to show a person a future recording of them violently stabbing someone. I mean, like that would work very well, I would hope. I'm not a psychologist. I don't know.
The thing is, I'm pretty sure that would work, but I'm a pessimist, and I'm looking at the world as it is right now, and you give this power to a government, and we're just going to be hillowing people left and right. I think that it's going to look like Minority Report if we give that to even the municipality that is DC.
Oh, I agree with that. Yeah.
I mean, that is an Orwellian fucking state as it is. You give them the power of, potentially seeing into the future. They are going to throw people in prison left and right, mostly right because they're just going to imprison everybody who's to the right of Bernie Sanders.
For a minute there, I wasn't sure you were making a political statement.
No, that's how fucked up DC is.
No, I believe you. I'm just saying.
It'll be like Leventree Brea. Just find the man, and I'll find the crime. And it'll be open season. I don't have any faith in government, and that's why Minority Report works so well, is that, it's just like, these are government agents. Suddenly it seems like government agents can just fix things. They can just fix everything, right? They can just make this bad thing go away. Isn't that awesome? Why would you ever question this? Why would you raise your hand and say, hey, how about civil liberties?
Yeah.
And then you figure out that civil liberties are still a real thing and important. And, maybe it is worth a life or two.
The good of many outweigh the few or the one.
This is something you could totally cut out. I was just going to say, as a woodworker, I'm jealous when I watch this movie because I would like to be able to create perfect golf ball sized spheres of beautiful hardwood and have it like have a nice beautiful clear coat on it that it's like perfectly spherical. I'm trying to think in my head how that would dry. How would that finish dry on that wood and have a perfect, unbroken finish all the way around it? You got to set it on something, that's obviously their little future machine working there, but how could I do it? I'm thinking to myself, I can't imagine how that would work.
Well, maybe in 30 years.
You'll find out.
perhaps.
31 years. Yes.
I'm gonna make a red ball. I'm gonna put Matt's name on it.
As the murderer or the victim?
That would be a good birthday gift.
I know. I was thinking about that. Well, wouldn't either one be funny? No. I
Just
can't
put
remember.
like
The red
put
ones
red
were the
rum on it.
premeditated, or the
Yeah,
brown ones?
the red ones were crimes of passion. The brown balls were premeditated.
Well,
But,
I'll tell you, red is when I make red on a cutting board, it's African Paduk. I meant Paduk. I'm not sure if I'm saying that word correctly, but it's about 3 times as expensive as mahogany, which I think is what the other one was.
Yeah.
So it would be, especially to find it in about an inch or more than about a 2-inch thickness. To start out with, to make the ball out of, that would be quite difficult. But I'll work on it. I'll see what I can do. I've got plenty of mahogany. I don't have very much Paduk.
I don't know why I hear balls and inches and it's a bit too much.
yeah. Andrew, any more thoughts?
Yes, definitely. The main thing I think I want to take away from this, I think Tom Cruise really deserves his flowers. You know, I didn't realize at the time. I went and I looked at the number of movies he just made over like this next 5 or 6 year span, and he gave incredible performances through each of them. And I've had a friend who's had the audacity, and this statement alone has made me question whether I should keep being friends with him. Who said that Tom Cruise isn't a great actor. And I'm like, no, that's blasphemy. That's blasphemy. Don't let the Church of Scientology hear you saying that. But you're just saying things that aren't true. I mean, but this span, you know, we already talked about Minority Report, the absolutely incredible, magnificent War of the Worlds. You got Last Samurai on there. Matt was watching Collateral earlier. Like, these are movies that were all stacked on top of each other. I mean, all while the guy's freaking getting a divorce and dating Penelope Cruz. Like, he's a legend.
Yeah,
I think he deserves his flowers.
Yeah, Tom Cruise. I mean, honestly, I'm sad to say this, but also happy to, kind of acknowledge him. He is the last truly great action star. I mean, I know that we still have Dwayne Johnson and Dwayne Johnson.
Jason Statham. Give Jason Statham something.
Yeah, Jason.
Keanu could do another John Wick.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Keanu Reeves is a fucking vampire too.
Yes.
But still, Keanu Reeves isn't driving a motorcycle off of a cliff and parachuting down at the age of 60 like Tom Cruise is. I mean, like, nobody is doing what Tom Cruise is doing for our entertainment. And I don't think that anybody is ever going to do what Tom Cruise is doing in the future, because Tom Cruise is paying to do what he's doing. He's a producer on most of what he's doing. He is insuring himself on what he's doing. I mean, like, the Halo jump in Fallout, Henry Cavill actually wanted to do it himself too, but the insurance companies wouldn't let him do it.
Yeah. Andrew, weren't you saying something about Tom Cruise and this time in his career?
It's just crazy how prolific he was. Like, you go and you look at his photo.
I was just gonna say, when you said that, I looked it up, and it's the decade of the aughts for him is very impressive. Up until the end, he's got one stinker out of the whole decade. It's pretty good. He's got Vanilla Sky, Minority Report, and then his excellent cameo in Austin Powers Goldfinger, or Goldmember, sorry. Then The Last Samurai, Collateral, War of the Worlds. Then, in my opinion, the best of the Mission Impossible movies, Mission Impossible 3. And then he did Lions for Lambs, which was meh, it was all right. And then probably one of the greatest performances he's ever given, Les Grossman in Tropic Thunder. And then unfortunately he ends the decade with Valkyrie. And then a movie that I still not seen to this day, but I've heard is actually quite fun and good. The movie Night and Day. I didn't see that one, but I heard it was good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
We should do a full episode on Tropic Thunder just to piss people off.
Oh, we are. We were supposed to do it with Yusuf.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
That's
Yeah,
the
we
plan.
should do that. Yeah.
Tropic Thunder was awesome, especially because it came out, when we were all in film school. But at the same time, we also did a screening of it one night, I think, for one of Dr. Jim's classes. And just watching that movie in the upstairs theater with like a room full of like film school guys, it was so much fun. Like the
Oh my gosh.
movie, everybody was
I can
laughing
imagine.
there. But the biggest laugh was when Tom Cruise asked for a grip to punch the director.
Yes. Yeah. If anyone who has ever worked as a grip or with grips on a set, and then knowing the backstory that was the key grip on the in the movie, and they just had him play himself basically. Where's the key grip? Punch
I
that
didn't
guy
know
in the
that.
face. Yeah.
He was the actual key grip.
That's at least what I heard. I didn't work on the movie. I don't know,
That's
but
appropriate.
right, and it's like it's actually good acting. The way he walks up to him and he shrugs. He kind of goes like, "Sorry, bah."
Bah! Of all the sound effects for like a punch. Bah!
Yeah, that's my onomatopoeia for a punch.
I have a feeling that we should have both Andrew and Yusuf for that episode.
Oh wow, that would be. It's tough for us to get these under 2 hours for the 4-way episodes, let alone 5-way.
Yeah.
But
It's gonna happen someday.
yeah, someday.
That would just be a pleasure to listen to, just because that's such a fun movie.
I was gonna say about Tom Cruise. I think I might have mentioned this in a prior episode at some context. Like, what was the last Tom Cruise? Oh,
Top Gun?
No. I'm talking about like a movie that we spoke about in the podcast that was related to it. But maybe in the Oscars episode or something, I mentioned this that Tom Cruise, as I like him, I don't dislike him, and definitely all the performances we mentioned. But I do feel like I lament the fact that he was not just a good actor, but a great actor early in his career, and just kind of decided to not make very, very serious movies anymore. I think his last one, probably like his best like serious like performance, last one was like Collateral, that I can think of. Everything else has been basically action movies and entertainment. Like he just doesn't do like, I wouldn't say like Oscar movies, but like, a good solid like indie movie or the up and coming director. It's just not a shtick. He's just making the most money possible, entertainer, action star type of guy. And I don't know, I'm hoping that at some point when it runs its course, maybe he'll have like one last phase of his career where he can just age into serious roles again. Because I do think he was an asset in those movies at some point in his career.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I get what you're saying. I also think that on some level, maybe at least from his point of view, maybe some of the projects he picks he does view as that, and then they just don't quite come out as stellar as maybe he had hoped.
Yeah.
I also think that there's a component of comparative advantage. It's just like, again, the guy's 60 and still jumping out of planes. Yes, I think that, I just rewatched Collateral today. he is great as a sociopath in that movie. He is freaking amazing. I mean, he should have gotten some Oscar recognition for that role. He is a really good actor, but you know, people are more interested and more entertained when he's holding onto the side of a plane. So he does that.
I think you can do both. There's no reason why. There's a lot of actors that do both.
I'm not saying that he can't do both. I'm saying that there's a limited amount of time in your life, and he's using the amount of time that he has with the vampirish youth that he has to, do that kind of, crazy shit while he can still do it. And, I think after these Mission Impossible movies, I think he's going to be done because he's in his 60s. I mean, not he's not going to be able to do that shit anymore. So, I think that his foreseeable future is going to be, making more movies like Collateral or, doing, more of the indie kind of shit. But I think that for the most part, he's just been using his time to bolster entertainment while he still has the physical ability to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he
let
needs
me
physical ability to do it. There's stunt people, but I get it.
But-
Like he wants to do it while he's young, sort of like how Matthew McConaughey or Gerard Butler did, like romantic comedies for a few years or whatnot. Like that type of thing. But I feel like it's a bit too long of a run for me. But it's okay. I mean, hopefully in the 70s we can get like a few more solid performances.
Let me just suggest this real quick, because I know I kind of already said this, but let me just kind of back up what I was saying. I think it's very plausible that he's not making a choice to make popcorn movies. I think he's trying to do like what Gil just said, that there's room to do both. But like, think about it. If you had never seen these movies before and you just had a script in front of you and you were deciding what to make, right? So in 2000, right after making Mission Impossible 2, he then goes and decides to work with Cameron Crowe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he makes a pretty interesting remake of foreign film, Vanilla Sky, that was like very different. It's the second time he's worked with Cameron Crowe, I think, right? If I'm not mistaken. And then he does Minority Report, which worked out pretty darn good. And then he does a silly cameo. Then it's like, I love The Last Samurai. I know a lot of people love The Last Samurai, but a lot of people think it's a little silly or problematic or whatever. But he makes this historical. He makes a historical epic where he's the lead character in this like incredible movie where he has to learn to speak Japanese and everything. I mean, and then Collateral. He decided to work with Michael Mann, of course. Then he goes back to Spielberg and does War of the Worlds, and then back to his franchise. And then he decides he wants to work doing this as play a politician for Redford. Then 2 movies later, he decides he wants to work with the, at the time, not yet disgraced
Bryan Singer.
Bryan Singer. Yeah, thank you. I mean, if you look at these and you don't look at the movies for how they actually turned out, and then right after Valkyrie, that movie I just mentioned, Night and Day, that's James Mangold. And then a little later on is those sci-fi movies, Oblivion and Edge of Tomorrow. Forget about how any of these movies either were successful or weren't. I think if you look at it from his point of view, not knowing what's going to happen, some of them turn out to be Collateral, and some of them turn out to be Valkyrie. But I don't think it's like he's not trying. I don't think it's like he's in a phase.
Yeah.
I just think that for the last 15 years, let's say, of his career, his big hits have been like his box office hits and critical hits have been Mission Impossible type movies and Jack Reacher and stuff like that. Whereas his more what would you say, like maybe substantial, or maybe just perhaps even just risky movies maybe didn't quite pan out the way he had hoped they would, like the way Collateral did.
Right, and nobody should forget Edge of Tomorrow. I mean, that is a really good movie.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I still need to watch it. It's on HBO Max.
I think it's good.
Emily Blunt has never been sexier.
She's very sexy in that movie for sure.
Oh, I guess that's why he did. He also did. I mean, the last semi-serious movie I guess that he did was like maybe American Made, and that was
I
also
didn't see that one. Was it good?
I didn't see it, but I'm just looking at his filmography, and yeah, I mean, I think I agree with you, Jason, that it seems to be spilling into. I mean, he also did The Rock of Ages, which was like a turn in a different direction. That was 2012. So I guess up until and Edge of Tomorrow and Oblivion, I do feel like is the big budget action movie type. It's like it goes Jack Reacher action movie, Oblivion sci-fi action, Edge of Tomorrow sci-fi action, Mission Impossible action, Jack Reacher action, The Mummy action. American Made is the only non-action, even that is a semi-action, I guess, because he's playing like an agent.
So you're right. The last 10 years at least have been very much
like since Rock of Ages, he's basically made action movies.
No, you're right. You're right.
Except for American Made. So I feel like it's got like a essentially like a 10-year run where he's not really doing the Lion for Lambs, the Collateral,
you're right.
Last Samurai. That's what I'm saying. That it seems like he's now binging on this, like, while I'm looking semi-young, let me just make all these action movies to like make a ton of money so I can donate to Scientology, the Church of Scientology or something. I don't know.
That's probably accurate. I don't know.
I don't care.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I think I've always gotten the feeling, and I want to reference Heat here for Tom Cruise. Like, the action is the juice. Like, I think that's what attracts him to these movies, is because he has a ton of fun, like doing all this crazy shit that he does. But I also appreciate that he has kind of stuck with this run of action movies, because he is elevating, that type of genre. When you take a look at what he accomplished with Top Gun Maverick, I mean, that was such an exquisite film. I said it afterwards, it was like the gold standard of popcorn movies. Like, that's the level like people should aspire to. And I think the last few Mission Impossibles have been spectacular. I can't wait for the next ones to come out, and I am curious to see what else he does afterwards. And if he does start doing like his more serious, less popcorn movie oriented roles, I mean, I'm down for it, because I know he's a fantastic actor. But I definitely am very appreciative of the stuff that he's done, and I can't wait to see what happens next. I'm pretty sure he's going to try to get his movie in space, like before he hangs it up.
I don't want to sound
in space.
Yes. I don't want to sound like an asshole here, but when Gil brought it up, the American Made movie, I clicked on it just to check and see. It's so sad. I feel like Doug Liman. I think his first three movies are like his best movies, and then since then it's like I'm looking at the decades that came after, and it's like he's had some pretty successful movies, but I don't think he's come close to those three. Oh, maybe Edge of Tomorrow. Maybe Edge of Tomorrow would be about the but
I like The Wall.
I liked The Wall, but I thought I would like it way more. Like, once I saw it, I was like, I'm glad I didn't go to the theater to see it. That's how I felt. I saw it for free at home, and I'm really glad I didn't pay money for it.
No, No, I mean the man. Yeah, the man deserves attention. I mean,
Are we talking about Doug Lyman or are we talking about Tom
well,
Cruise?
both. But I mean, Tom Cruise, like, this is a guy who is willing to jump out of a plane at what 20,000 feet in the air for our entertainment, and I don't care that he's a Scientologist. I'm not an illiberal leftist who is going to dive into his personal life and his personal beliefs in order to assess what he's actually producing for the world. He's producing something valuable for the world, and he has been for a lot of years. And he's fun. He is just fun, and he is producing fun. And I will always pay money to see Tom Cruise jump out of a fucking plane or drive a motorcycle off of a cliff. I will always pay money for that because the guys just fucking get at it. I don't care
I
what
don't
he's
know.
doing.
I never understood that. I tried to watch some of the Mission Impossible movies. They were just impossible to watch.
Oh, that's
and
sad.
and Oblivion was like okay, like it wasn't great. I just don't. It doesn't appeal to me. But I will try to see eventually Top Gun Maverick and Edge of Tomorrow because they've. To me, like Tom Cruise, his action movies are kind of like the MCU. Like I just get disappointed every time I give one of those a try. But I'll hold hope for Edge of Tomorrow and Top Gun Maverick.
That is a gross comparison.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Your reaction to it is gross.
No,
I'm glad Andrew is here because he was on the MCU episode.
Yeah, but I think Tom was rumored to like do a couple of those parts, at least for like a one-off.
I mean, the MCU is full of sissy actors on green screens pretending like they're in peril. And like the Mission Impossible series is full of real stunts performed in real time on camera with real people actually putting their lives on the lines for you, and you don't see the difference. I mean, come on. I mean, like, it's no. The Mission Impossible movies are leaps and bounds better than the MCU.
That's not accurate.
Oh,
But
the issue that I generally
appreciate with what you're saying.
The issue that I have, I agree with you. They're slightly more adult than the MCU, but the same cartoonish aspect to it, I think, sticks because I feel like action movies that don't have much more than just action are essentially cartoons for adults. So that's my issue with it. That's why I hold for like the action movies that actually have more to it than just the action.
Matt, did you see Extraction?
No, I did not.
You should see it. It's the Chris Hemsworth vehicle that's like directed by his. I could be wrong about this. Don't hold me to this. I'm pretty sure it was directed by the stunt coordinator who worked with him previously on some of his movies, and it's like, I mean, it's the kind of movie you'd like. I mean, it's got some seriously good stunt work in it.
And it's not MCU, so it's making my point, right?
Well, it's the Russo brothers, no?
It's Chris Hemsworth, and you just called him a sissy on a green screen.
Yeah, and I mean, like you look at the work that Chris Evans put into the Captain America films. I mean, that's definitely not a fair statement. Like he did some pretty impressive stuff there.
He didn't jump out of a fucking plane.
He actually did, but not for real.
Yeah.
But there's a plane involved somewhere there.
He jumped out of a plane. I mean, he usually does.
Just to answer Gil's question, it was the movie was written by the Russo brothers. It was directed by Sam Hargrave.
Oh,
okay.
Interesting.